everyone, my name is Dr. Sam Munroe. Wait, did she just say Sam Munroe? And I'm an ecologist. That means I study plants and animals and how they interact with their environment. I have studied a variety of species over the years, both on land and in the ocean, but I got my start studying sharks. I have a PhD in shark ecology, and my research has focused on what sharks like to eat and the habitats they like to use. After I reviewed the Meg and Jaws on this channel, by far the most requested reaction video was for Deep Blue Sea. I remember watching this movie a lot as a kid. I feel like it was always on late night cable, and when I was a teenager and I couldn't sleep or I didn't want to go to bed, I would put the TV on and inevitably this was on some random sci-fi channel. But honestly, I have not sat down to revisit this movie in at least 10 years. I feel like I have a strong memory of this movie not being very good, but being a lot of fun. At the very least, there should be plenty of great shark science to talk about. So without any more preamble, let's separate science fact from fiction in Deep Blue Sea. I forgot, yeah, this movie has shark vision, where you see everything from the shark's point of view. I like that, actually, as a movie trick. I think that's cool. I like it. Oh, could the noise maybe be attracting a shark?
Beautiful.
What's wrong?
Come here.
Did you feel something?
Yeah, I feel something.
Oh, I'd be so upset about the wine more than anything else.
Stop! Oh, you're paranoid. Come on.
Is the implication here that the shark is going to see the wine and think it's blood because they're both red? Because the shark would be able to smell the difference between wine and blood. It wouldn't get confused by that. Ah, there it is. Very early in the movie, we get a good look at the shark. Destroyed that boat. That boat is done. They'd be lunch by now. That shark would be there and have them. It wouldn't take this long for that shark to get over there. Whoa, what? Where were you the whole time? There was no other boat sitting there. Great shot though. Oh, it's a pretty good looking fake shark. He's just sitting totally still in the water, anchored. He was not there 5 seconds ago. Couple shark science things to discuss though in this scene right off the bat, which is great. In this scene, we're seeing a pretty dramatic shark attack on a boat, so a good question to ask is, do sharks attack boats? Personally, I'm not sure I would use the word attack because we really don't know a shark's intention when it's interacting with a boat. But on rare occasions, some shark species are known to interact with boats, sometimes aggressively. This can take the form of a shark bumping the boat or maybe biting the boat. What causes a shark to want to bump or bite a boat really isn't clear, although there are a couple potential explanations. The shark might just be curious. They might be drawn to the boat because of the vibrations that it's giving off or the sounds that it's giving off, and bumping and biting the boat is just their way of trying to figure out what the heck it is. In some situations, the shark may also be drawn to the boat because people are fishing on that boat, so they might be putting chum into the water or they just might have baited hooks. And the smell of that potential food could bring the shark into the area. Honestly, we don't know for sure exactly why a shark might bump or bite a boat, and the reason is probably different in each unique situation. I also mentioned that I really like the shark POV in this movie. I think that's a really great movie trick to let you know when you're just looking into the water or when you're actually seeing things from the shark's perspective. I really like that. Having said that, what sharks really see probably doesn't look much like the shark vision in this movie. Sharks, generally speaking, have really good vision, but what I mean by that is that their vision has evolved to suit their environment. Sharks have evolved to see quite well in a range of light conditions, even very low light conditions. Sharks also have very high contrast sensitivity, which means they're able to see the contrast between objects really well. This lets them see the outlines of shapes and objects very clearly and very sharply, and it also probably helps them distinguish patterns. However, all of the data that we have so far indicates that sharks are colorblind, which means they can't distinguish between different colors. This might seem like a disadvantage, but remember that the ocean tends to be kind of dark, and most of the light that filters into the ocean is a blue-green color light. And the light just gets darker and bluer the deeper you go. So from that perspective, it isn't really useful to be able to see a ton of different colors because there's not really any light that would let you see those colors. It is important that I mention we only have direct data on the vision of a small number of shark species. I think we've only directly tested something like a dozen or maybe 24 sharks for color vision. So at this stage, we can't know for sure that all sharks are colorblind, but certainly the data that we have would indicate that sharks can't see color. It does have stripes. And it's brown. Kind of weird looking. What is that shark? That is weird. What is that? I don't know what that is. It looks like a mako and a tiger shark and a leopard shark had a baby or something. That's a weird...
Lies himself down the
I like how
bottom.
he's standing on the ladder
bones out of
and the
teeth
sharks
sliced.
just, these big sharks just casually swimming in the background.
We need to talk.
It's good to be brave, but like,
Later.
maybe get out of the water. It's right there.
Carter Blake, Russell
Just
Franklin,
get out
president of
pool,
the
man.
board of Chimera Pharmaceuticals.
Whoa, that was incredible.
It was unnecessary.
Actually, they don't like the taste of us very much.
Unnecessary risk. Oh, that's accurate.
They bite you. It's because they think you're a fat little seal.
Yeah, that's actually pretty accurate.
Or a rich soup.
And that's an uncomfortable way to talk to your boss. Why would you say that?
Nice meeting you.
That's so weird. All right, so back to the point that he was making, which is a good one, that sharks kind of think we taste bad and that if we do get bitten, it's because they think we're a seal. Sharks, especially large sharks like the one in this movie, would tend to target prey species that have a lot of fat. And that's because all of that fat gives them a lot of calories and a lot of energy. Humans, on the other hand, on average, tend to be mostly bone. So if a shark were to eat a human, they wouldn't get a lot out of us. We don't have, on average, nearly as much fat and meat as, say, a seal would. So from the perspective of a shark, because we don't provide a lot of good food, trying to catch us is just not worth the energy and the effort. That's why, on the very rare occasion that shark bites do occur, scientists make the argument that it was probably a case of mistaken identity, where the shark thought we were a different kind of prey. One study actually directly tested the mistaken identity hypothesis by filming seals, humans on surfboards, and humans just swimming normally from underneath the water, from the shark's perspective, to see what it looks like to a shark and whether or not they look the same, whether or not a seal swimming at the surface really does look the same as a surfer at the surface. What they found was, from the shark's perspective, seals, surfers, and swimmers all kind of look alike. This means that for species like white sharks, for example, it's actually quite difficult for them to tell the difference between a seal swimming at the surface and a surfer on a board at the surface.
So was that the Gen 1 that escaped?
That little guy, no way. Those are the normals. These three are the test sharks. 2 first-generation and 1 second-generation female.
Yep. Whoa. That's like the size of a whale.
Beneath its glassy surface,
That's huge.
a world of gliding monsters.
That's not very nice. Oh, shark bite. Love it. It does make sense, though, that if you wanted to have larger
It's pretty
sharks,
scary
you
stuff,
would
huh?
breed females or
Yes.
test females, because female
It is.
sharks tend to get a bit bigger than male sharks in most species.
Look, I already told the doc. I locked the pen like I do every other night. The fish got out some other way. Huh. What are you looking at me like that for?
Hey, how high are these fences off the water?
Well, given the surface variations and tensile strength...
God, short answer, man.
8 feet? Give or take a centimeter?
What? What do you mean 8 feet, give or take a centimeter? What are you talking about? 8 feet, give or take a centimeter? I think that's gonna make my brain explode. So this is a small thing, I realize, but when you work in science, no matter where you live, no matter what country you're in, scientists typically always use the metric system. So we measure distances in millimeters, centimeters, meters, and kilometers. We don't generally use the imperial system, which is where you would measure things in inches, feet, or miles. So it's a little bit weird that at a research facility, they're using the imperial system to communicate measurements of any kind, but you know, let's not get caught up on that. This guy's American. But why would you mix the systems? 8 feet, give or take a centimeter. What? Why are you doing that? Just say, like, first of all, a centimeter is tiny. It's like it's like this. It's like this. So just say 8 feet, because you saying give or take a centimeter doesn't help anybody. But why are you mixing imperial and metric? Ugh.
You guys hungry?
They're feeding the sharks other giant sharks. Is that what's happening? I desperately want to see the animal ethics permit for that. Oh my god, they are eating it up! They just hit it, and it has stripes. What is the shark? They are feeding a big old shark to a bunch of other sharks. Oh my god. So sharks absolutely do eat other sharks. Large sharks are known to prey on smaller sharks. In fact, juvenile sharks will often avoid using the same habitats as the larger adults because those adults pose a real threat to them. Adults may eat or attack the juveniles, so they tend to try and separate from the adults. But just putting all that aside for a minute, I know this is gonna sound super nerdy, but I really wanna see the ethics permit they had to apply for in order to be allowed to presumably go out into the ocean, catch a really big, potentially endangered shark of another species, and feed it to the other giant sharks. I have spent a lot of time over the years working with animals in the wild, and the ethics permits I have had to fill out in order to have permission to do that, they're like this thick sometimes. And that's just to be able to go out, catch a shark, measure it, and release it back into the ocean. I once had to do an interview for an ethics permit to get permission to collect water from the ocean.
And sharks never get cancer or go blind or show any loss of brain activity as they age.
Whoa.
Unlike some people I know.
Sharks are the oldest creatures on the planet. From a time when the world was just flesh and teeth.
God, he's a good actor.
By using a
He just
hormonal
makes
enhancer,
everything
we
sound
increase
so
this
creepy.
female's full.
Okay, so there was a lot of shark science delivered rapid fire in that scene. So let's go through each of the things that they said one by one. The first thing she mentions is that sharks never get cancer, and this is incorrect. Sharks can and do get cancer. A variety of species have been shown to have cancer, and we've identified a range of types of cancer across those different species. The next thing she says is that sharks never go blind, and I honestly don't know about that one. It's not technically true that sharks never go blind. They certainly can go blind because of illness or injury. Greenland sharks, for example, go at least partially blind. There is an ocean parasite called a copepod that will attach itself to the eyes of the Greenland shark, and as it grows, it damages the Greenland shark's eyes and they can go blind. But in terms of their eyesight getting worse with age, which I think is what she's implying here, I don't know the answer to that. I'm not sure that's something that anybody's ever studied. Shark vision is actually pretty understudied when compared to other aspects of their sensory system, so things like their ability to sense vibration changes in the water. That has gotten a lot more research focus than shark vision. I could be wrong, so if I'm wrong, please shout it out in the comments, let me know. Put a link to any studies you can find on that topic, but I'm not aware of any. I don't know if this is something that's been studied. The other thing that she mentions is a lack of brain decay, and this is really interesting. There was a study that was published, I think in the last year or so, that examined age-related changes in the brain of a Greenland shark that died when it was roughly 245 years old. And what was amazing about this study was that all of the age-related changes that we tend to see in human elderly brains were absent from the Greenland shark brain. So that's really cool. But the authors were very careful to point out that the reason they might not have seen any age-related changes could have more to do with the environment that the Greenland shark lives in. Greenland sharks live in very cold Arctic waters, where the water temperature can get as low as 4 degrees Celsius. They also move very slowly. By shark standards, they're a pretty slow-moving, sluggish kind of shark. And these aspects of their environment, being very cold, and their behavior, moving quite slow, could actually help protect their brain from aging. So the question is, do other shark species experience age-related changes in their brains or not? Is this something unique to Greenland sharks, or does it occur in other sharks as well? We don't know. We definitely need a lot more research on this question, but it's a pretty interesting question. The last thing that they mention is they say that sharks are the oldest creatures on Earth. I don't know that they are the oldest on Earth, but they're certainly one of the oldest. The fossil record suggests that sharks may have evolved as early as 450 million years ago, so they have been on the planet for a really long time. But I do think there are a few other species that are, at the very least, equally as old. For example, nautilus, I think they evolved around 500 million years ago. The horseshoe crab, one of my personal favorite marine creatures, I think they evolved around 450 million years ago as well. So sharks may not be the oldest living creature on Earth, but they are certainly one of the oldest. Tag team it. Really big.
How long have they been synchronized like this?
Tell me I didn't see that. They recognized that gun.
It's impossible. Sharks do not swim backwards. They can't.
Let's try to stay focused, Pete.
She's right about that. I guess all the stuff that they're showing in this scene, you know, the sharks synchronizing and working together, the sharks swimming backwards, I think, you know, this is all here to just let the audience know that, hey, this is a really smart shark. But I don't think we can just breeze past the whole swimming backwards thing. No amount of intelligence is going to make a shark swim backwards. Sharks move forward by moving their tail, also known as their caudal fin, from side to side. The fins at the side of their body, also known as their pectoral fins, don't help them with forward motion. They're there to stabilize the shark and help it maneuver. This design helps sharks move very quickly and allows them to make tight, fast turns. But their tail is only capable of forward propulsion. They can't move their tail in any way that would allow them to go backwards. And because they cannot change the direction of their pectoral fins, they can really only move forward. Imagine your standard jet plane with its engines and wings all designed to go forward, trying to fly backwards. It just wouldn't work. Here we go. Now we're gonna get a really nice look at her. I like it. So, first of all, I really love that this movie uses a fake, you know, model shark whenever they can, rather than using CGI. It's me going off on a bit of a tangent, but I think a lot of the modern shark movies overuse CGI. Model sharks always look better, or usually they look better. So I really like that this movie made the effort and used a model shark. Does it look like a mako shark? You know, it's not bad. I would say the overall shape, the snout of the shark, its mouth, the color, you know, it looks like a mako shark. Specifically, it looks like a short fin mako. There are two species of mako shark, the short fin mako and the long fin mako. As the names imply, the key distinguishing feature between these two species is the size and length of their fins. And again, just based on the proportions of this mako shark, to me it looks more like a short fin, although I don't think I've heard them say exactly what species it is yet. Short fins have an incredibly hydrodynamically efficient design. When you look at them, they're sort of shaped like a torpedo. Because of that, they are extremely fast. In fact, they're thought to be the fastest shark in the world, with top burst speeds of around 70 kilometers per hour. The one thing that's important to mention though is that this shark is clearly a lot bigger and bulkier than a mako shark would be in real life. Short fin makos reach a maximum length of around 4 meters, I believe, and this shark looks a lot bigger than 4 meters. Not only that, this shark looks a lot fatter and bulkier than a real mako would be, right? It kind of looks like this mako's had some protein powder, it's been hitting the gym, it's been bulking up. Not quite what a real mako shark looks like.
They're firing!
Yay.
They're firing!
1 second. 2,
It worked.
3,
Still firing.
5, 6.
6.560
I
seconds.
guess that was really good. Oh, they seem very happy. Okay, that worked.
No, sir.
You know, it's funny because when I first saw this movie, I thought that this idea of using shark compounds to make medicine or cure people was just the most outlandish idea ever. But as it turns out, it's not as far-fetched as you might think. Many of you probably already know that shark cartilage is a very popular alternative treatment for cancer. It usually gets consumed as a pill or in powder form. But, and this is really important to understand, there is no evidence to suggest that consuming shark cartilage, or frankly any other part of a shark, can help treat cancer or any other illness. This is really critical to understand because the false belief that shark cartilage can treat cancer is one of the reasons that sharks are overfished all around the world. But while eating a shark isn't going to help cure you of anything, learning more about the shark immune system could lead to pretty big breakthroughs in medicine. Sharks are notoriously fast healers and have a really good immune system. If we can understand more about how that immune system works, then hopefully we can develop new treatments for human diseases. For example, shark antibodies are thought to be much tougher and much better at fighting illnesses than human antibodies. So there are scientists out there right now who are trying to develop treatments for things like infectious diseases, Parkinson's, and cancer using shark antibodies and other shark compounds. However, I want to stress that these studies are in their very early stages. To the best of my knowledge, these things have really only been tested on lab animals like rats or in petri dishes on cell cultures. There haven't been any tests on people. We are very far away from any of this being used as a treatment for people. Oh, this part always gets me.
Did it, pal.
You did it.
Ah! Yeah, see, that looks very mako-y except for the ridiculous size. Oh, and no one's paying attention. That's not good. That's not good. Yeah, I would get out. One rule in shark science, try to avoid the pointy end. That was the joke on our boat anyway. So I like that his immediate response is... Right. His immediate response is, let's shoot it. Hers is, let's get it back into the water. At this point, they don't know that these sharks are planning some kind of evil plot to kill them all. Why not just send it back into the tank? At this point, it was just a shark being a shark, you know what I'm saying?
They aren't just breaking down doors for the sheer joy of it, are they? They're after us.
Pretty damn obvious. We don't know what they're doing yet.
I think that's a great response. Assuming
Just
they're
what the
after
hell
them
did you do
at this
to those
stage.
sharks?
Big assumption. Turns out it's true.
Their brains weren't large enough to harvest sufficient amounts of the protein complex. So we violated the Harvard Compact. Jim and I used gene therapies to increase their brain mass. Larger brain means more protein. As a side effect, the sharks got smarter.
That in itself would be a fascinating research paper.
You stupid bitch.
All right, so now we finally reach the main plot of this movie. Does having a bigger brain make these sharks smarter? And honestly, I don't know. I have no idea what the answer to that question is. I'm not a neurologist. As far as I'm aware, this is still an issue that is hotly debated among experts. Some studies have identified a correlation between brain size and intelligence. Other studies have not. Some work suggests that it's not really about how big your brain is. It has more to do with your brain size relative to your body size. For example, human brains are about 7 times larger than what you might expect given the size of our bodies. And oftentimes when animals are determined to be quite intelligent, we see that same pattern. Their brains are very large compared to the size of their bodies. But this isn't always the case. Sometimes there's exceptions to that rule. Suffice to say, the relationship between brain size and intelligence is very complex, and I encourage you to go find a neurologist on YouTube who can help answer that question. But this is a great opportunity to debunk a pretty negative and pervasive myth about sharks, which is that they are dumb, mindless eating machines. Do you remember that scene from Jaws where Hooper says,
"All this machine does is swim and eat and make little sharks, and that's all"?
That scene sounds really dramatic, but it's not true, and it's really unfair to sharks. Sharks as a group exhibit some pretty fascinating behaviors. We know from research that they are capable of problem solving, that they can learn from past experiences, and they exhibit some pretty complex social behaviors. So thinking of them as sort of these dumb eating machines really isn't correct.
So we're not going to fight anymore.
Even though I know it's coming, I'm so stressed out.
We're going to pull together and we're going to find a way to get out of here.
Move.
First, we're going to seal off this
It's a good CGI shark for the 1990s, hey? It's not bad. So mako sharks are one of the shark species that can jump out of the water or breach the water in order to capture prey. If their prey is near the surface, a mako shark could choose to use a sneak attack, breaching kind of tactic to catch their prey. He did tell him not to stand so close to the edge.
Sharks are attracted to churning water, bright colors. These extinguishers should be a distraction.
What about us?
Vest will bring up too fast. Your lungs will pop like a balloon.
Yeah. Depends on how deep you are.
You weren't the sunny kid in your class, were you?
I never went to class.
Well, how far to the surface? What is it, 60 feet?
There's nothing to it. Remember, exhale on the way up.
Yep, that's
Get
critical.
the hell out of the water.
That's critical.
I gotta equalize the pressure before we blow the airlock.
Yes.
I gotta let the room fill up with water. That's only gonna take a few seconds.
I'm actually really
Ready?
impressed by this scene. They're getting the little things right.
None.
As we already talked about, sharks are colorblind, or at least with the available data, we believe that sharks are colorblind. So when he says that the bright color of the life jacket would get their attention, really what that means is that the high contrast between something bright and the dark surrounding water would be something that would get their attention. It's not the bright orange color per se, because they can't distinguish color. It would be the high contrast between a bright object and the dark surrounding water. Divers and swimmers often avoid wearing bright, high contrast suits for this reason. It's actually a joke among divers that you should never wear a yum yum yellow. But there are safety advantages to wearing a brightly colored suit as well, because it can make you more distinguishable from other divers under the water so people know that it's you. And if you're at the surface, it makes you easier to spot. All I know is I've been wearing a black and pink wetsuit for the better part of a decade now while diving with sharks, and I've never had any incidents occur. The other really important piece of safety advice that he's giving here is for them to exhale as they ascend to the surface. If you're diving at a deep depth, the pressure at that depth will cause the air in your lungs to contract. But as you ascend and the pressure decreases, the air in your lungs will expand again. If you were to take a very deep breath of air while diving at a very low depth and hold that breath as you ascend, the air would expand and expand and expand, and yeah, it could cause serious damage to your lungs and potentially rupture them or pop them, however he said it. So the key thing here that they need to do is, as they go up, they need to let that air out slowly so that, yeah, they don't cause any damage to their lungs and they don't overexpand their lungs. So I think what they're implying here is that the shark is attracted because it can smell the blood, and it's true that under the right conditions, some sharks can smell blood trails over really large distances, like several hundred meters, but it does have to be the right conditions. This seemed to happen a little too quickly. Like, she hit the water and the shark instantly smelled the blood. You would need time. You would need time for the blood trail to reach the shark. Oh my God, I shot him through the leg. You have a whole giant shark to shoot. Why did you aim for... He's handling a spear through the leg, by the way, just with total calm. He's a calm dude. Oh, that would hurt, having that ripped back out. There it is. Excellent 90s CGI. Homage to Jaws, very clearly. Yeah, why not? If you fill a shark up with dynamite and you light it, yes, it will explode. Very scientific. All right, everybody, that is my reaction to Deep Blue Sea. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun getting to revisit it. I haven't seen this movie in a really long time, so I enjoyed getting to sit down and watch it again. It's funny because I remember this movie just being so over the top and completely scientifically inaccurate. And obviously, the premise is pretty out there, but the little details in this movie, some of them they get right, so it's not bad. It's not bad. The thing is, I recently saw Meg 2 in theaters, and that just puts everything into a healthy perspective. Spoiler alert for my thoughts on Meg 2. They're not great. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of the movie, what you thought of my reaction, if you have any burning shark questions, and stick around to check out a few of my other videos that I've done on ecology and my other shark reactions as well, and I'll see you next time.